Good morning. We are live. Welcome to the Afterglow. My name is Syya.
And I'm Erin Gregor.
We are the Dallas chapter chairs for Global Leaders Organization, and we are also the founders of Innovation Media Enterprises. So, what are we recapping? We discussed the weekly Global Leaders Organization Business Acceleration 2.0 speaker series. We highlight the awesome takeaways, lessons learned, and advice given to us by the highlighted guests of the week. So this week we had Lee Mayer, the CEO and founder of Havenly, an online interior design consulting firm. And she shared her story from leaving corporate America to launching Havenly and some of the missteps and successes that she experienced. We've asked Leslie Flores, the CEO of Moments by Design, Party Box Experience delivery firm, to join us because she has a very similar story. So welcome back, Leslie.
Hey, thanks for having me again, guys.
So, Leslie, I know we've been back before. Just real quick, Moments by Design. What exactly is that? Because I love the concept and I think everyone should hear it again.
Well, we are a party in a box. So just trying to make life a little bit easier. We've got a lot of stuff on our plate. So every time you want to throw a party, you just simply pick one of our boxes. It comes straight to your door and you get to have time spending it with the ones that you love versus having to stress out and find the right Pinterest boards everywhere.
Yeah, and you're what I affectionately call extra. So I imagine you were running around with your head cut off, like trying to get things like that going, right? So make sure you got the perfect decorations and all that. So going back to what I was saying is why we wanted to have you back is so Lee Mayer, she has had an amazing career. I mean, just looking at her LinkedIn profile, long history working in consulting for Canon, Bain and Company, Bankrate. So she had that cush, corporate job, and she could have stayed doing what she was doing, but she opted to leave and take that leap of faith. Right. And Erin, you've done it. I've done it. Leslie, you obviously have done it as well, but your background is very similar in the context. So there's a lot of corporate operations and finance. And I think there's some similarities. I think if I remember correctly, you guys, did Lee say she was in the M&A side of things?
She was.
One point she was working in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's something to be said about that because she was looking at companies and startups and, considerations for acquisitions or collaboration. So she was a numbers gal. And then when you become an entrepreneur, you're on the opposite side of the table. And I thought her story was great. So if you guys don't mind, let's jump into it because I think there's so much takeaways from Lee's chat and it was just so inspiring to just listen to her. So when she launched her business, she was, nothing, right? Had a partner, maybe it was just, a two-man show for a while there. And one of the things that she kicked off the discussion was that mistake that entrepreneurs make about optimizing for cheap versus optimizing for good. And it really hit me because, we're not rich. If we are bootstrapping it ourselves, we don't necessarily have the funds to hire someone top notch from the jump. So, Erin, what did you think about that when she was saying don't hire based on the cheapest labor?
Well, it's setting yourself up for success, right? Like a lot of times, a lot of people want to go, as an example, to interns, which is really great because you can get a lot of interns. Like I can never not pay anybody, but if you wanted to, you could not pay them, right? Like they get the experience. But the problem with that is you're just going to be in an endless cycle of hiring and people don't realize the amount of effort it takes to hire and onboard and bring people up to speed. So there's that whole thing. And then even just setting your company up for the long term. If you have somebody who you're paying a little bit more and is aligned with the vision that you have, it's going to be a greater company versus somebody who you're just, all right, here's $10 an hour, do the work. They're going to be gone the minute another opportunity comes. So you really have to think about, it may hurt a little bit at the beginning, but it's going to really pay off for you in the long run on a time and money perspective.
I mean, I'm the one that's asked you many times, hey, maybe do you think we could use an intern for this particular task? And I completely understand. I guess I'm torn at times because, as an entrepreneur too, you have this desire to, hey, I can give you this opportunity. Maybe it's like, a family member fresh out of college, for example, right? But to your point is, well, are they there just to get experience to just jump and leave at any given point in time? Or is it a family friend's kid who's like, I guess I'll do it because I got nothing better else to do. So there's definitely pros and cons to that. Leslie, as your business has grown, you have a lot of like logistical considerations, like packing all these party boxes. What have you seen, and what's your experiences and thoughts on optimizing for cheap versus optimizing for good?
So we actually saw this early on, especially with our graphic designers, because all of our designs are created by them. Originally, I brought in what I thought was going to be, yes, some great talent, some raw talent, straight out of college, but it required so much more of my time to manage them, and I needed to be managing my business. So, I mean, at the end, I ended up biting the bullet, brought in an amazing art director who now goes and seeks out all the talent, works with all my graphic designers, then brings me back a final product so that I can just basically give a check mark and say, yes, let's go run and put it into production. So it's a lot of that. It is getting the right people. I mean, yes, it hurts. My art director's paycheck is not something that I love to actually sign off on, but at the end of the day, it helps so much just having her there and having her manage that entire process for me, so I'm able to manage my business.
Got it. Yeah. It is interesting and that's a tough call too, because graphic design, you would think there's some talented artists out there, right? Hey, good morning, Jonas. So, well, let's talk about this. And so if we're looking at bringing on resources, she actually said this repeatedly. So clearly she had that story to deal with, which she said, hire slow and fire fast. Again, as entrepreneurs, I think because it is our business and we are a reflection of the business, it's a reflection of who we are as people. So I could see where there's an emotion tied to when you bring on resources and when you have to part ways. So Erin, with all your multiple business that you've had, and I know you've had to hire and fire, what has your experience on that mentality of go slowly, but make that decision quick?
We'll definitely go slowly. Because again, I don't think people understand, like if you really look and put out your time from onboarding, writing what you need for a job description, looking for the people, bringing them on, interviewing, onboarding them. You've got to be slow with who you're going to bring on, because that could be your, especially as an entrepreneur, you're wearing 50 different hats. That could be your full-time job alone, just bringing people on. And so you want to be, it may feel like I'm drowning, I need somebody now, but take your time because it definitely pays off. On the fire fast, I can say my big one is trust. When I feel trust is being lost with a person, it's not like I've ever had an employee where they're pulling some shady stuff and then suddenly the shade goes away. Get rid of, when you have a bad feeling, when you have, trust issues, I can stress enough, let them go, because that is a bad apple in your business. And it's not just that role that's being affected, it's the company as a whole. And I was just listening to a podcast the other day where they're talking about this experience it was like a restaurant or a bar. And they're like, you need to put this company on blast, right? And how dare they act like this? And then the other person was like, well, that's kind of a horrible point, because what if it was one bad apple and that experience, the owners came in and said, get rid of this person, this is unacceptable, and now you've just put on blast that business when they really did the right thing. It was one bad apple that they hired and they got rid of, or maybe they never got rid of that person. But it's just a very interesting perspective, and that's why it's so important too. Like you said, it's an extension of your business and it's an extension of you. And if they're not doing that, it's dragging your reputation right through the mud.
Well, and I'll say what I thought was interesting was when she was talking about, if it's not working for us, it's not working for them either. Like both parties are unhappy. And I kind of forget that sometimes when I'm here, because it does feel like family now, because it's my business and everybody's so close, versus in corporate, I kind of remembered that. And it was refreshing for me to even hear that again.
Yeah, no, because it goes both ways, right? And it actually reminds me of a mastermind I attended yesterday. The other individual was just discussing how he was seeking advice on this one particular individual where the output was great, the person was productive, but the attitude wasn't there. And he had a one-on-one with the individual and asked him, like, what is it? You're clearly not happy. If I can tell as a CEO, you're not happy, what is it? Because, we don't want you miserable, right? And the company is too small to just see someone linger, right? Because it, like you guys all say, it just like spreads like a virus at times, right? So if we want to, so he's walking through that. So the whole group more or less suggested, hey, keep having the one-on-ones with them, and then eventually they'll figure it out themselves if they really truly want to be there or not, right? But there was that point that everyone said, you have to make that decision at some point. If that person will not make the decision, you're going to have to pull the plug. Now, Jonas makes a good point, though. So how about, what if we avoid this whole situation altogether? In the interviewing process, what is it that you guys are looking for that is the must-have to bring someone on board?
So I know, at least for me, it's kind of willingness to just adapt. We're a startup, so job descriptions are nice and we make them, but at the end of the day, they're probably going to get thrown out the window within the first 6 months. So I think, that willingness to adapt and just continue to grow is monumental for me.
Yeah. I think too, as entrepreneurs, I see this all the time. We get really excited about hiring and we want to sell the person on working for us, when that's exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. They should always be selling you on why they want to work at your company. They should always be like, you should be talking much less than the person you're interviewing. And I know I get caught up in this where I'm like, this is what you're going to do. This is and I get excited. But you always have to remember, they should be pursuing you. And it should feel like that in the process.
Right. No, I agree on that. I think for me, what I'm seeing is because we are such small companies as entrepreneurs and startups. Now, granted, it's a temporary condition. We're going to get big and blow up. But I feel like when you bring someone on board, they must have the same, or at least alignment on vision and mission of what the business is about and the core values of the group. Because I feel like if they don't buy in to why the business exists and how we kind of function in our belief systems, I'm not saying you always have to be like, lockstep agreement, but what I'm saying is you have to understand that vision, right? To march towards it. The job, to me, I think you could be trained if they've got the capabilities, and the assumption being is they're already pre-qualified in that context, right? That's what's written on the resume. What I'm looking more for is, do they agree with the overall mission and value systems of the company? And I think that's harder to interview for. So, well, thanks for saying it's a great topic, Jill. Really appreciate you. So, want to talk about this other part, because we're used to getting rejected, right? Not us as females. We're amazing. We don't get no's very often. But the fact that Lee said she had 140 no's before getting a yes. Whew. Let's talk about rejection, you guys. How many times have you been rejected let's just talk about corporate life first. How many times do you really honestly think you've been rejected in your corporate life?
I feel like there's a little bit of a difference here, because like when I was doing sales, 100%. I mean, there was a million no's, or at least what I would like to say, a million not yet, but hold on.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I think in corporate, corporate, I pretty much, if you learned how to manage properly upwards, you kind of always got to do what you wanted. So it wasn't a lot there, but yeah, I mean, the sales side, I mean, this was hard. And I mean, I've seen, because of my background with investment banking, I've seen entrepreneurs come in and do these same pitches and be the person that gives them that no. And, it is hard, and I think that she did bring up one really great thing, though, how she kind of rolled. She continued to grow with every no that she got. She continued to reformulate her pitch. She continued to go and say, okay, here's what we need to do next so that we can finally get to that yes. Because I don't think anybody enjoys saying no, especially to entrepreneurs, because you see the passion, you see the drive, and you want to get them to that yes, but it's not a match made in heaven, right at that point. And so the fact that she just continued to kept growing with that, I think that's something that everybody needs to do. If you're going to look for funding, go and find and take what everybody else is giving you, because at the end, they're who you want, right?
Yeah, I think what's so interesting about this story, so I'll go back to another podcast I listened to, How I Built This. If you listen to that podcast, I would say probably 50% of those companies that they talk to, I don't know if I'd be on the other side of those companies. And I think that unwavering belief in your business after no, I mean, and it's not just about getting no's up front, but the crap that hits the fan along the way. I don't think we realize how hardcore these people need to be, these founders need to be, and how lucky we are to have some of the businesses that we have today because of what they went through, because of 140 no's. Like, I mean, what are the chances that a person sticks through that and is here to tell the story of a successful company? I would say, I mean, that's a top 1% issue. Like, I'd say 1% chance she is the one who hears that and gets through it. And you wonder how many people had that idea. And that's why everybody says ideas are cheap. It's not about ideas. It's about the execution of the idea. And are you going to sit through 140 no's to make that idea come to life? And I just think it's such an important concept to understand, because we see this, oh, look, she just went out there and she's got this great company now. But the fire that she had to get through to get to that point is just something that we all, say we'd want the end outcome, but would we go through that fire to get that?
Yeah, no, to me is, wow, what resilience means and persistence means, and high EQ to understand that maybe that no is no because of the way you presented it, not because no, the idea is bad. And I really appreciated the fact that she said, in order to do a successful pitch, and she said this when she was on the other side of the table as well, is how good of a story are you telling to sell your vision? And when she said that, I kind of like hand clapped. I don't know if anyone saw me. I was like, yes, because it's our brain is wired to function in a way that if you tell a narrative and you evoke an emotion and you tie it in, you're going to remember it, you're going to connect with it, and you're going to relate to it in a way that creates a closer bond, right, with the person that you're speaking with and communicating with. And if you can nail down that, your storytelling, I 100% agree. I think if you guys ever watch Shark Tank, right, the ones that tell the best stories, they're the ones that you see the sharks going, oh, I love this. And, oh, you're tugging my heartstrings or whatever. Right. Or, I mean, are we full of BS that's a used car salesman tactic, or is it, pragmatic? You give investors numbers, the facts, the market caps and all that. And that's what actually ultimately wins the game for funding.
I think it's a combination of both. I think if you have a horrible business case and the numbers don't add up, but you have the most amazing story, probably still not going to invest in you. But I think you have to have that combination of both. You have to have a compelling story number-wise. There has to be a market for it. You have to know what you're doing. But that's where you see too on Shark Tank, if there is some premise behind it and some substance behind the business, they'll invest more in the person than the business. And I think as a great investor, you have to do both. I've invested in business, and the person was not good, and basically it didn't work out, right? So I think you have to have both. And I think one of the most powerful things I learned to do, this was in sales, not so much pitch, but it's the same type of thing, is to ask at the end why they said no and really understand the reason why they said no. Because a lot of times it's not that they didn't need my product or service. It's the way I communicated the value to them. So again, that storytelling. And I think, how she did it, just really learning after each no and not losing hope, but saying, okay, how do I pivot this and improve this, is just really, really, really important. Because a lot of times you are on the right track. There is a need for what you have, but you really have to nail your communication of the value to that person you're trying to sell it to, whether it's a pitch, whether it's a product sale, etc.
Well, so I'm sorry. I was going to say, so Joseph on Facebook here, thanks for pitching in. Literally, he does pitch training for for GLO. And so a lot of the members have access to talk to Joseph about, how to prepare and set themselves up for success when they're looking to take that leap into seeking access to funding and capital. I like that you say that, Joseph, tell your story and intersperse numbers into it to validate as fact, to kind of keep it all grounded in reality, but also selling the story and the emotion and the vision in that. So let me ask you guys this question then, because it's not really related to the discussion, but it is something that was just kind of piquing my interest as you were talking, Erin. So if we're looking at, the investee, or if you're the entrepreneur and you're going up to all these, investors and you're pitching, I've asked this before and I'll ask it again. Maybe it's more of a question for Leslie. Does it really matter if the person doing the pitch is a extrovert or an introvert? So meaning what I'm saying is, I would imagine if you were more inclined to be an introvert, to quote, tell a story has got to be really hard and really intentional and focused. Whereas an extrovert, it comes a little bit more flowly, naturally, a little bit more energy in the pitch. Do you think that matters?
I mean, I think how you pitch matters. I see you were here with me 2 years ago when we won the Founders Live here in Dallas. There was one guy who had a great story for his company, and his marketing team had done an amazing job putting it together, but he wasn't able to give the delivery. And so I think it's about the delivery. I don't think the personality type necessarily matters as much, but it's about the actual delivery. And I mean, you can have the best pitch in the world that your marketing team put together for you, but if all you're going to do is read it in a monotone type situation, let's face it, Blink goes over this, how quickly our brains work and make the connection about whether or not we like somebody. Well, that happens when you're sitting across from an investor as well. They're thinking, do they like you? Do they not? And within that first few microseconds, if you haven't impressed them, well, then they're probably going to tune out, especially if you're just monotone memorizationing to them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think personality type has anything to do with it, because it's all about delivery. And an extrovert, just because you're an extrovert, introvert, you get up on a stage, that doesn't mean anything, right? An extrovert could freeze up. My son is very extroverted. He gets up on a stage, frozen. My daughter and I are very introverted. I know my place on a stage. I'm fine. I know how to sell a story, right? It's certain situations that I'm not going to get into a peeing contest of trying to be above somebody, right? In a room, right? That there's just differences so I think it's just your person, like, it's all about delivery and up on a stage. And can you connect with them? Again, it's not a blanketed pitch. Do you understand who's in that room? What is going to tug on their heartstrings? How can you sell it? How can you interweave your story? And really understanding that delivery and that perspective, and understanding your numbers. Like, that's another important thing too. How many people go up on a stage? And my friend used to put on pitch competitions, and I'd sit as a judge all the time. And how many people you're like, I don't get it. I don't get it why this would work, or I don't get how you're going to turn a profit on this. And they could have the most perfect delivery in the world, but if I'm sitting there going, I don't get it, and there's no way I'm about to hand you money right now because I have no idea how I'm going to get my money returned, it's not going to win.
That's 100% true. Okay, so let's flip it. So she had a section there where she said, okay, what are the 3 things that she looks for in investors? So look, not all money is good money. Erin, you said it so many times. So you guys, what are your thoughts on that, and what she said when she was looking for what she was looking for in an investor?
So I think she was right on the ball. I mean, her 3 categories were the smart investor. So they've been around a lot. They've invested in a whole lot of companies. These are the people that generally end up on your board. They're the ones that you pick and you're like, hey, I need to bug you for this, but it's not actually bugging because they want to help you. They want to help your business grow. And then you've got, your silent investors, which are great. They give you some cash and they kind of just stay silent. You hear from them during your quarterly meetings. They're just like, hey, great. I just want an update. And then you've got the 3rd bucket. And this is the hard one. And I think she's totally right. You can have a handful of these, but you never want too many of them. They're the squeaky wheels who aren't necessarily giving you a ton of cash, but want to have all the ideas, want to be on the phone with you, pretty much once a week. And all they're doing is kind of like, well, what about this? And maybe it's not in line with your mission and your vision and where you want to take this company. And so you're constantly having to shut them down, but nicely, because they did invest in your company. And so, yeah, I do think, again, it comes back to that time management type stuff, right? It's the one finite thing that all of us have is time. So how much time do you really want to spend with these people over here in bucket number 3, just trying to talk them down and explain to them your vision and your mission again and again and again, just for a little bit of cash?
Well, and it comes down to trust too. Like I'm getting the vibe those people probably aren't trusting you 100%, to run your, they're trying to micromanage and make sure their money gets, and it's just like that. It's the stress where I'd rather bootstrap money or find it somewhere else. I'd rather have the stress of a loan to a bank, let's put it that way, than dealing with their phone calls, micromanaging me and, getting in my ear every 5 seconds. Because if they want to run a company that bad, it shouldn't be mine, it should be theirs.
Yeah, so Jonas makes a good point. It's so attractive, guys. It's alluring. Let's be honest. When someone is giving you money or giving you a good chunk of money and you need it to take it to that over that hump, if you will, I mean, that's got to be such a hard decision for an entrepreneur, right? Like, so Jonas, I know he's got a tech, company. Tech organization, tech companies is not cheap to build product. You need to have some capital, right, to get things going. I mean, Erin, I think you've with your businesses, I mean, have you ever just sat back and said, is this really what I need for the business?
Well, I've always bootstrapped all my businesses, so I've never.
Right. Oh, okay.
I've invested, but I've never had an investor.
Okay, so as an investor, have you ever had the conversation with someone saying, okay, here's the money, and has it gone well for you? Or has it been like after the money's been given, then there was
I've had some really good and really bad situations. I've had some great, and honestly, again, it was people versus, and I tried to get in and help, and it was just a lost cause. They wouldn't listen, type of deal. Like it was very bad. I won't even get into the really bad situation, but I've also had very good situations where they need money and it's all that they need. And that I'm happy to, like, they'll give, like she talked about yesterday, mentoring. If they need help and they ask for help, we'll provide help. But I'm not there to be on your butt and micromanage every 5 seconds. Like I am putting my money and trusting in somebody who knows more about this topic than I do. And if they're seeking specific help, I'll be there to offer it. But more or less, it's helping them get off the ground. So.
Got it. Yeah. So okay, our time is wrapping up a little bit, but I do have I've been wanting to make a post about it for a while, but okay. So she had mentioned while she was looking for investors, she actually recommended to do your research on them, look them up, see if you have a network with them. If you have mutual, contacts, reach out to those mutual contacts and see if you can get, a softer introduction. Okay. So those are like the best, practices that she suggested, but I did love the fact that she used LinkedIn as a real tool to help get and build data for yourself. It's not just a pure, social media. It's not just a pure job seeking type, platform. Do you guys use LinkedIn and look for people to connect with, et cetera, for your business?
100%. And especially in corporate. Heck, when I was with Regis, I even made a corporate agreement with LinkedIn for our corporate account sales team because you should be using it.
Yeah, I relied heavily on it for the summits. I would get sponsorship deals right through LinkedIn. It was, wow. Yeah, it's very, very useful.
So my one bone to pick on that, and I absolutely encourage, do reach out to, if you want to grow your network, or if you see commonality with someone, you want to get to know them. I understand that completely. But if I may, please, for the love of all things, for those that keep pitching and send these bots out, I swear you're hurting your personal brand by sending these bots without checking the profile of the individual you're spamming. It's so infuriating to me. I don't know if it'll ever end. And I try to be a nice person. If I receive a bot, I actually give feedback and say, hey, I realize this is a bot. I don't think I'm a good fit for you. Please reconsider your algorithms or whatever, or your target. But are you guys getting hit?
It has to work though. Like I don't get, it pisses me off, especially those like, oh, hey, you must have missed my email or message. I'm like, no, bleepity bleep bleep bleep. I did not miss your email. I chose like, and I'll say choice words too, or I'll call them out sometimes. But it has to work that people are doing this. Like, I'm assuming like they're getting some hits because I can't. I mean, people are selling this to other people to do. So at some point, either it's all BS and it's never worked for anybody, or it is working for people. I don't know.
Well, I feel like numbers is, I mean, sales is a numbers game. We all know this. At any point in time, you're going to come to somebody and they just inherently need what you have. So I think it's probably those people that they're automatically getting.
But it's so annoying. Okay, on that note, I don't want to go and leave on a negative note. Positive. We're all about positivity and happiness. So if I could just summarize, Lee Mayer, she really emphasized, look, the jump is rough. There is life changes that happens, but you're going to get a lot of rejection. Keep going, persevere, learn from the rejections, take the advice if you want to, if you think it makes sense. And if not, stay true to your course. But as you evolve, tell a story throughout this whole process. Tell a convincing story that evokes emotion, that helps sells your vision. And you will find that right investor that believes in it, that will support you. And based on the 3 types of investors that she, discussed, you'll find one that will work for you. So Leslie, thank you so much for your time. How can the folks learn more about you and Moments by Design? How can they reach you?
You can find us online at momentsbydesign.com. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Leslie Flores. And you guys, Leslie at momentsbydesign.com. I'm more than happy to share and help anybody grow. And hey, if you need some party help, let me know.
Absolutely. And Erin.
Yeah, so all of this that we're talking about is part of the Business Acceleration 2.0 series with GLO. I was trying to figure out how to word that differently, but GLO stands for Global Leaders Organization. It's a international group that Syya and I are part of the Dallas chapter. So we'd love to have you join us as a premium member. We talked about I don't know if we actually talked about the VIP room, but you get access to the VIP room and then exclusive events for the Dallas chapter. So we'd love to have you join us. Head over to GLO.com to find out more and sign up. Excellent. And there's like a great price thing going on right now. I just saw that they extended it.
They did. You guys, the prices are going up. So if you want to join at a hella reasonable rate, please hit up me and Erin. We can go down the details and show you the value that you will get out of GLO. Next week, Mr. Accountability Anderson, author of 15 books and president of Learn to Lead, will be joining. So he will be talking about basically the no nonsense messages to impact listeners and readers to lead in a way that is, successful for your business. So hit us up at withglo.com. On that note, guys, it looks like we are long for this week. So have a safe week, be successful, and we will see you next Friday. And thanks for joining us on the Afterglow. Bye.